Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And I'm here today to talk about sunchokes, which are also known as Jerusalem artichokes, and why I think you should at least give them a try for one season and see what you think. Now, we personally only grew them for 1 year, and we have reasons why we didn't grow them again. I will be talking about that later in the video, but first I want to explain what they are and why I think you should at least give them a try in this next garden season. So the sunchoke, or the Jerusalem artichoke, is a plant that is related to the sunflower. It is not an artichoke, and it's not from Jerusalem. So I always thought sunchoke was a more accurate name, but I've come to understand why it became called the Jerusalem artichoke, or at least what we believe. And that is because, going back to the fact that, again, it is related very closely to the sunflower. In Italian, sunflower is girasole. At least I think that's how you pronounce it, which sounds very much like Jerusalem. So that's where they believe the term Jerusalem ended up getting coined with the sunchoke. So because it is a type of sunflower. Now, even though the flowers look very similar to a sunflower, they just don't get near as big or that big head of seeds the way the regular sunflower does. But the part of the plant that people grow it for, and for that sustainability, are the tubers, which initially when you first dig them up can look very much like a ginger, but bigger and a bit more bulbous than ginger is. Most of these pictures I'm showing you are pictures I had to gather from the internet because I had very few pictures of the ones I grew years ago, and even a couple of the ones that I know I had, I have scoured my computer. I cannot find them anywhere. I don't know if they somehow accidentally got deleted, but I'll show you a couple. These are old pictures because this was back in 2013, so they're not super clear. My garden was still relatively new, and at the time I was growing them right between the deck and the greenhouse, which now is where our grapevines and blackberries and so on have taken over. But you can see them in this photo right here. They are the plants that you'll see that look about 3 feet tall at the time this photo was taken, and they were just on the other side of the decking that you'll see there. And you can tell by the plants, the plant itself does look similar to a sunflower in the way that it grows, but they can get 8 to 10 feet tall, and mine did get that tall. And I was really hoping to find the picture where you could see those sunchokes just totally filling up that whole section, which now the grapevines have filled in since. And they are a beautiful plant. I did actually enjoy growing them. And here is why I recommend considering growing it, because it will grow easily for most people in pretty much any soil. In fact, when I planted it in that dirt had only just been dug up. It really hadn't even been tilled. I just dug the dirt up and planted. It didn't have a whole lot of compost or anything added to it, and those things took right off with no problem. I didn't need to do anything special. And also, these sunchokes will keep multiplying year after year, and you will end up with a lot of plants. And they die back in the winter, but any little bit of tuber you leave in there is going to grow a new plant. So if you don't get them all dug up, you'll keep getting new ones. And so when we decided not to do them anymore, it took me a while to finally finish eradicating all of them from that garden area, but it was really no big deal. But for some people, that's, especially if you really enjoy the sunchoke, you like the flavor and the ways that you can use it, then that's actually really beneficial, because then you know it's plentiful. You don't even have to worry about it. Just leave some pieces in the ground and you'll have a ton more coming up in the next year. Now, here's the other thing that makes this a really great sustainable plant is I had a friend that grew them, and that's where I got my tubers from initially. And she grew them not just for the root itself, but for the tops, for the greens that she would feed to her livestock. She gave them to her goats and her chickens and her rabbits. At least I think she gave them to her rabbits. I know for certain she gave them to the goats. The goats loved them. So it was a way that she could supplement their feed with something that she grew easily, and then they would use the tubers for themselves. So the tubers, of course, like you would expect, are very starchy. They can be a good potato replacement. So in a hard situation where calories and carbs are necessary, this is why something like a Jerusalem artichoke can be a really great thing to grow, along with the fact that it is super easy to grow. Now let's move on to the flavor. I personally like the flavor. It is actually very mild. It's not really like a potato. I would say it was a little bit sweeter. But to me personally, I've yet to hear anyone else say this, I thought they tasted like sunflower seeds. It was really interesting to me that they tasted that way, and I don't think it's because I associated it with the fact that it is related to a sunflower. That's just how it tasted to me. And I've read where some people think they taste like raw hazelnuts. So I'm curious, for those who've already been growing these and cooking with them, share with us down below what you would equate the taste to. Again, I think it's very tasty. And Patrick was okay with it. I wouldn't say he was crazy about it. He just likes potatoes much better. But, you know, we both ate them and used them up and then just decided we weren't going to do it anymore. Now, one of the main reasons I didn't really care for them is, to me, that was something I wanted to peel. They were really a pain to peel. You would want to really wash them up really good. You can leave the skins on. I would suggest leaving the skins on. It's way easier. But usually when it comes to something like that, Patrick doesn't like eating like fried potatoes and stuff like that with skin on. Some potatoes he'll eat with the skins left on, but not something like that. And trying to peel them is a real pain. So you're better off just scrubbing them really good and then just leaving the skins on when it comes to that. But the number one reason for us, as I'm sure anyone who knows anything about a Jerusalem artichoke probably totally understand, is that the tuber is very high in inulin and are very, very hard on the digestive system. So in other words, to put it delicately, it causes a lot of intestinal distress because your body cannot properly digest the inulin in those. So some people have come up with some creative names for the Jerusalem artichoke, as I'm sure you can figure out because of that. And to me, the cleaning and the intestinal distress it caused was not worth it for us to keep growing them when we would just rather grow more potatoes. We like potatoes better anyway. But I still recommend that if you haven't tried them yet, at least give them a try. You might be able to find one that isn't as high in inulin. And by the way, some people say if you cook it really well, you won't have that problem. Well, for us, it didn't matter how much we cooked it or how we cooked it. It was still an issue. But apparently there are certain ones out there that can have a lower inulin content, which can thus be easier to digest. I just know the ones we had were not. So at any rate, at least if you can find a tuber from someone, because they're super easy to grow from those. So if you can get your hands on some tubers, at least try growing a small amount. And even if all you did was use it for fodder for your animals, it's one that will just keep giving back and can be a good healthy source and cheap source for helping to feed your farm animals. Now all we have is chickens, and I pretty much supplement their feed with homegrown regular sunflowers and various other garden related items that we have out there. And then I make my own blend of feed for them as well, or at least scratch. I'm not making their own feed because I can still get such a good deal on the scratch and peck feed, and we stock up on that whenever we get into town, which is maybe once every 6 months. So, and it's organic and non-GMO, and I love that. But their scratch, I make that all from scratch now. So look into them for yourselves, and please, if you're already growing them, share with us some recipes that work really well for you that help make them so they're much easier to digest, and how well they do for you in your area. And go ahead and share your basic location so people can have an idea where you're at, and so they can see how well this does in many places. So again, this is called either the Jerusalem artichoke or the Sunchoke, and you can look them up for yourself online as well. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed this quick video on a garden recommendation. Even though we only grew them for a year, I still recommend giving it a try. Thanks for watching. Take care, and God bless.